Hello, hello, and welcome everyone. Welcome to the conversation room. My name is Ellen Wagner. My pronouns are she, her. I'm currently tuning in from snowy Princeton, and I welcome everyone out there who is just joining and everyone who is watching the recording, because there's going to be a recording just in case you couldn't make it to the live. So today we are here. We have a very special topic. It is Black History Month, just in case you forgot. And of course, every month is Black History Month. But in the US, it is this month, February. In the UK, it might be October. But as we all know, Black History Month is every month. And our topic today is reframing our narratives. You're too full to be half, and how it came that we chose this topic, and how it came that we are here with these beautiful people, Tayo and Toby. We're going to get into this in just a second. And if it's the first time for you, this is an interactive space. And I also have to say that this is not a safer space, but we are trying to be mindful with the language that we have. And like I said, it's interactive. So you can participate and you can use the comments on the platform from where you're tuning in. So it might be LinkedIn, it might be YouTube or Facebook. So just use the comment section and share, for instance, from where you are tuning in right now. So I'm curious who is on this call, who is watching us, because unfortunately, this is kind of a one-way street because I don't see you out there. Um, and the only way to know who you are, where you are, how you're feeling is through the comment section. So if you'd like to ask us any kind of question, feel free to put it in the chat, and maybe we will be able to answer your question. Okay, so if you're listening to that and you want to give us some feedback, type in the location from where you're tuning in from. Okay, let's go. So I'm not alone here today. Like I said, I have Tayo and Toby, and they are just going to introduce themselves really quick. And then I will let you know what today's topic is all about. Tayo, would you like to go first and tell us a little bit about yourself, who
Yeah,
you
sure.
are, what you do?
First of all, I'd like to say thank you so much for inviting me to this talk, to the conversation room. We've been in contact mostly online, unfortunately, but since a long time. And I really love your work and everything you do. And we never really had a possibility to, come together and share thoughts more intensely than on social media. So I'm really happy that you asked me to join here tonight or today, wherever you're tuning in from. For me, it's tonight. So I'm Tayo Awosusi-Onutor. My pronouns are she, her. I'm located in Berlin, Germany. I'm a singer, author, yeah, and maybe political activist if you want to call it like that. And yeah, I'm really curious to see how this talk is going to be tonight.
Thank you, Tayo. Toby, you're also here.
Yeah,
Would you like to share with the audience who you are and what you do?
thank you so much for inviting me too. Really happy to be here in your presence and in the presence of Tayo and everyone joining us. I'm Tobi Aye. I'm born and raised in Benin. Right now, I'm located in Lisbon, in Portugal, and I'm a cultural somatic practitioner. Culture is important for me, so cultural somatic practitioner, and I work with trauma, around trauma work, identity, and many other topics around somatic. And I'm a grief walker, many other stuff, which maybe we will talk about slowly in the discussion. But yeah, really happy to be here and to be able to share with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your introduction. And for everybody who's here for the very first time, the conversation room is a place where you hopefully hear from voices that are maybe not represented in the mainstream. So this is our room where we share our stories. And um, today we want to talk about a topic that I came up with, or maybe Toby came up with, when we had a conversation. So I was asking Toby if she had interest in participating in my project. And we were brainstorming on topics. And he very quickly came up with the topic, or we were talking about the narrative that people are half something and half something else, or even a third something, another third to something, and another third to something, meaning that if you have a background or your parents are coming from different backgrounds, people say something that they are half half. And even myself, being biracial, I'm a light skinned Black woman. I used to say I am half white and I am half Black. And I think until the moment that we had this conversation, Toby, I never realized what I was saying there. And you said, that is not, that doesn't sound correct to you. And you said, you're too full to be half. And that really stuck with me. And yeah, today we are coming together to talk about this, to talk about identity, because we all probably have in common that we have complex identity or multiple backgrounds that makes us unique. But sometimes the narrative doesn't align with that,
Yeah.
and that has certain consequences for us. So maybe I'd like to start with the first question about identity and what identity mean to you, or whatever you would like to add to what I just said.
Hmm. Maybe I can start. Um, I think identity means to me that if I hear the word identity, automatically I have to think about like childhood and growing up. Because I think this is the time where like your identity is like developed or being formed, right? And it's funny because I often get this kind of question asked, maybe not exactly the same, but similar. Like, do you feel this or that, or how do you feel about your identity, and how is all this, you know? And um, I can understand that the question is there, and then that is like some kind of something that we want to think about. But at the same time, I think I could have said that maybe 20 years ago or even 30 years ago, and I can still say today. It's usually a question that I am not asking myself, that but I'm being asked, right? So like also to choose or something, uh, which was a question, like the question like of choice was a question that I also heard a lot when I was still like really young, maybe a child or a teenager or something around that time. And this question is usually being asked from the outside, right? So the outside actually like requires somehow, for you to make a choice, even though you don't even feel like you don't need to make a choice. You want to make a choice like, what are you going to cook for dinner tonight, or what are you going to wear, or going to wear makeup or not, or whatever your choice is going to be to make your day, right? But not like you don't wake up and like, oh, today I feel more like this, and oh, it's Tuesday, so I feel more like that or something. So I always found this question, I mean, as deep as it can be, at the same time, I always felt like it is an interesting question and we have to talk about it. But at the same time, I always felt like it's a question is that I'm being asked, and because I knew or experienced how this feels, I oftentimes I just somehow taught myself not to ask that question to other people. Like for instance, if I meet other people and I'm not really sure about like their background or something. And yeah, I just don't ask, right? I mean, there's like so many other things you can talk about that identify you. And I believe, and I also have experience, if you get to know a person closer, this question will come up anyway, right? Because you start sharing more and more about you in your private life once you get to know a person better. It doesn't matter if that's like in a work relationship or private relationship, friendship or romantic or whatever. So yeah, I think it's, like I said, it's an interesting question, but at the same time it is really not so much a question that I have been asking myself like my whole life. But I, of course, at the same time, I have to say that I use the question and I work with it on purpose. Yeah. So after growing up, now childhood, teenage time, and all that is long time ago. So I came up with a term to describe myself, and that is Afro-synthezer. Um, this is also somehow influenced by the Afro-German movement that, yeah, more or less maybe started in the 70s, early, yeah, 80s, and the years and decades on. Um, that term Afro-Deutsch, which means Afro-German, was really a term that gave a lot of people, maybe one or two generations even, like a proud term that actually helped to describe who you are. So because I'm also part of that generation, this also had an effect on myself a lot. So so I can really identify with that term, but at the same time it's not enough for me. So yeah, so I just made up this term, Afro-synthezer, because I'm also my mother's synthezer, so that's Romani people. And yeah, that's the female description, to describe a female is synthezer. So I just put it together, and that's it.
Beautiful.
I love it. And
Yeah.
through talking about this and sharing your story, you will inspire other people to maybe follow you and also use certain terms that are out there and digest it and make it your own and claiming your own. And this is like a self designation. And oftentimes you said that people ask us, like, where are you from? Well, I'm from Berlin. No, where are you really from? This question. And sometimes people who might be privileged, people who might like look like the norm, will never be confronted with that question and the frequency like we do, which makes it sometimes hard when we get annoyed. Like, why are you asking me this? I'm like German or I am whatever it is, and you now ask me this question, and I feel you want to hear what makes me other or different from you. So
Exactly.
this is a very external thing.
Hmm.
Um, and Nadia also wrote in the comments that I always say I am half half. Interesting
Hmm.
thought.
Hmm.
So sometimes we do not have the language to
Yeah,
describe who we are, how we feel. And it is so healing to hear these stories. And that's why we're here today. Toby, what are your thoughts on this topic?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tayo, for your beautiful words. My mom always said, when someone asks you where you are from, or where your accent is from, or where your hair is from, where your eyes are from, is the time to display everything. Is the time to put it all on their plate. If they can eat it, they will eat it.
and
Is
before.
the time. It is the time to brag
Mm,
because our identity, there's absolutely no this in the world, this identity that is something you have to be ashamed of, right? As soon as you start to feel like I have to hide something, I have to fight with someone that I am this, I'm not this, you are ashamed of something. And this is in your system. And as a somatic practitioner, honestly, I didn't really realize her words until I start working on body, on understanding what it means to be from here, understanding what it means when people say I'm half, People always come to me as incomplete something, but then we start working and then it's like, my dear, you are so full. There is no incomplete here. It's not because you can't speak fully Igbo or Yoruba that you cannot reclaim your Yoruba side. You can fully reclaim your Yoruba side. You can fully reclaim your Igbo side. You can fully reclaim your Malinke side. So I think even we are unfortunately in a society where we are asked to choose, right, to be something or not to be something. And it's made like that after it's our own choice, right? So what identity is for me is everything, is my roots, whatever that identity is. And I define it the way I want. As my mom say, just play with that, right? Today you are something, tomorrow you can be something else. Just keep changing name. Just keep changing, just keep changing whatever you want until you find yourself. So I was really given permission from little because I was born in the north of Benin. We are Yoruba, and for Yoruba being born in the north of Benin is really rare, right? So when you are born in the north of Benin, when you come to the south, my parents are from the south, you are called people of the north, which could be the N word today, somewhere here, right?
Okay.
So you are either called people of the north, you are called people of the north. So it means that it comes with everything we know as discriminatory around in the culture, or right, between ethnicities. It comes with fights and stories that you were not even there when these stories were made, when these fights started, right? So, but you take it because you are people of the north, although no, you are Yoruba, right? But my mom tell me one thing one day. She said, you know, at 9, you can already speak 4 languages from Benin, right? Those who are calling you people of the north and they are in the south, they can speak only one language. So you see how immense you are, how full you are, right? Just if we have to pick a language, you have already seen so much. You have already eaten so much food they have never touched in their life so far. And why are you sad if they call you people of the north? Yeah, just fully embrace coming from the north. Yeah, because that's it. For the moment, you cannot walk around with your identity card and say, no, I'm just born in the north. And this is actually my dad is from here, my mom is from here, and my name is here. Today, if I'm in Benin, people see my name, it doesn't have north name. But today, if you ask me, Tobi, where are you from? I say I am from Atakora, right? I don't say I'm from Benin. It sounds nice to say, right? Because Benin is where people know or some people know. But actually, I'm from Atakora, and Atakora is in the north. There are mountains. It's so beautiful. It's the most beautiful city or part of Benin. So how can I be ashamed of being from there, right? So when you also ask me where I am from, I say I am the grandchild of this person, right? I am the child of my mom's, of my dad. I am the great granddaughter of this and this and this and this. So that's me. That's my identity. So that's how I talk about myself. And when I want to talk about identity, I think I could talk just like Fidel Castro, 7 hours speech on where I am from. So that's what this permission my mom gave me. And I'm so, so happy to just be able to talk about myself like that and not to remove anything from myself. It's all part of me.
Yeah, I just let that sink for a moment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
This room is already getting filled with so much richness and knowledge and wise words. Thank you so much for sharing.
thank you.
And you said something very important. You said you you had permission, or you were giving permission. And I think that is really crucial because I oftentimes wait for external permission to be something, to do something. And I remember a couple of years ago when I started my own business, I felt I'm a coach and I want to call myself a black coach because I'm
Hmm.
proud of who I am. And because I think I moved to the US also 5 years ago, and I grew up in Germany, and that's not a thing. Maybe now, after 2020, it is becoming a thing that we call, or that professionals call themselves maybe a black lawyer or something. But before that was not really common. And I wanted to call myself a black coach. And I was talking to different people who have knowledge about marketing or business, but I never had was giving this permission. It's okay, you can call yourself like that. Actually, you can call yourself whatever you want to. But I never dared to do it because I always was waiting for the external permission until this moment where I realized, what am I doing here? It's my business, right? So I can just do it. And I was also fearing backlash or negative comments who would say something like, why do you have to specify that you're black? I mean, I don't say I'm a white coach. So, and then you're going to start having this conversation about the norm and who's the majority. And language is very powerful. So over the years, I also stopped saying minority people, but minoritized people or people from the global majority. And that changed so much also the way I carry myself. But I have to be honest, it has been a process, a progress over years, probably a lifelong thing. And I'm over 40 now, and it took me 40 years to get to this point. So my question for you is, if we say we have complex identity, and I hope that this is a term that you feel okay with, how do you navigate that? And it's probably also been a progress for you to get to the point where you find yourself, Tobi is saying, finding yourself, not waiting for permission anymore, but giving yourself permission. How do you navigate that also with the reactions of other people?
Hmm. Tayo, you wanna start or?
Okay. Yeah, I think it's a lot of what you both of you, Toby and Ellen, have already mentioned, and I don't know, maybe I've mentioned it too. I think it's a question of like what we choose for ourselves, right? Um, I mean, even if the question is if I want to talk about my identity is also up to me, right? If people ask you, uh, where you're from or what is your identity or what is your background or whatever words they use to get to the point. I think it's always depends on myself, like am I actually ready to talk about it, and if yes or no, and if yes, what do I actually want to share? Do I have the time
Yeah.
to do this right now? Am I in the right mood? Does this person deserve all this information right now? Where are we? What's the situation? What is going on? Are we going to ever meet again? I mean, like a lot of questions, right, that happen. So, and especially like in my case, and I mean, I'm sure you can relate to that still, is that if I start like really start to explain about like my identity, it's actually like a history lesson, you know, and and I because if it when it comes to okay when it comes to like my background is Nigerian, maybe many people know like okay Nigeria is in the continent Africa, and yeah, soccer, I don't know, that's it. You know, so but at least they have an idea what's going on when I talk about the fact that I'm also a Romani woman. then the history lesson really starts, right? And then there's like many doors that open, like a lot of things can happen. And it can get funny, it can be painful, it can be anything, right? But at the end it will be like me explaining a lot. And because that knowledge is not there, that knowledge is not being taught in schools, even though Romani people are part of the German society even before Germany as the state as it is right now existed. So this is like we're talking about like the Middle Ages. That's like more than 600 years, part of the German society, but still the knowledge is next to zero. So you don't get taught anything when it comes to school, when it comes to university, all that. Also, other like media, there's no narrative about it. The narrative that exists is totally negative, racist, and all that. So if knowing all that, this means for me, like if I start to explain like where am I from, I really have to like do this free history lesson, right? That's and the question for me really is like am I willing to do that, you know? So yeah, and most of the times I'm actually not, so I don't do it. But it's not that I'm ashamed of who I am, totally not. I'm very public and open about my identity. That's not the point. The point's just I ain't got no time for that. You know, I mean, there's like other things you can do. There are people depending on you. You want to create stuff, you want to write stuff, you want to produce stuff, and all that. And so I don't really don't have time for that, to be honest. Um, and yeah, and it's also not only time; it's also energy, right? So, are you willing to put in all that energy, right? I mean, the max thing I can do is like maybe if somebody would say like the racial term for Romani people in my presence, I definitely always, as long as I'm alive and conscious, will definitely say something and then maybe give some hints like, you know what, you can go there and there to get more information. So, and that's it, you know, but I'm not gonna be the one, you know, to do the free history class because that's actually the job of the German education system.
Say it louder for the people in the back. Definitely. I'm like nodding, nodding here. And I cannot agree more. People might feel, don't be so sensitive if I ask you this question. But again, the people, the white, let's say, majority people in Germany don't get asked ever where they come from. But sometimes they are. And we're gonna maybe answer Robert's question in a second, but I also want to share the comment from Nadia. She said, I remember exchanging with a friend of mine who is Black. I complained to her that people don't see me as a real German. And she said, I am not waiting for anyone to allow me to be friend. I know that I am, and that is all that matters. Ooh, and I get goosebumps when I read this because that person, that friend of yours, found herself and she's proud, but not all of us are. And sometimes it's kind of like ripping up a band-aid and opening a story or a door to a story that we don't want to share that might be traumatizing for us. So the next time you're going to ask somebody, where are you from? How about you reveal something about yourself? Something like, hi, I'm Ellen. I'm from Cologne. Where are you from? Or where are you located? And then it's clear that you really just want to know in which city you're living. Because does it really matter where a person really is from?
Mm,
And if so, be as honest and say, I have a very intimate question. I would love to know, can I ask you what your roots are? And then it's still totally fine if the person says no. And then please just accept that and wait until the person maybe one day tells you a little bit more. Okay? And Toby, do you see the comment by Robert? Would you like to talk about that? Then I'm going to read the comment and
yeah.
then you can say something. So Robert is writing, as a white German who grew up in different regions of Germany, is it permissible to compare my experience with Toby's story? I ask this because I answer similar to her. if someone asks me where I am from.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Robert, for your question and your comments. Absolutely, totally. I think for me, it's hard to just pick one thing, especially when I mean, when we navigate the world and visited many places, not visited, lived in many places, right? All these places are part of us. So I really believe that, yes, you can really fully answer the way you want. And as Tayo said, in the mood you are in that day, if you feel like being from Cologne today or from Stralsund tomorrow or from, from Bayern after tomorrow, just, I mean, feel free to embody them all and claim them all, and yeah, so yeah, totally.
Hey. Yeah, you can hear me already. And Toby, would you like to add something how you navigate the world?
Honestly, I don't navigate the world. Maybe if I just want to be honest, it's so not my priority to be there and explain it. As I said, really fully, I fully embody who I am. As Tayo said, we don't have time, right? Sometimes I ask people, instead of asking me maybe where I'm from, maybe ask me my favorite food, for instance. And for sure, I will not say kartoffel salad, for sure. No, I will not say kartoffel salad, even though I love so much kartoffel salad or Frühstück, Bauernfrühstück. I love them. They're so tasty. But I will not, they are not mine. So you can quickly, by with this question, which I will fully tell you, I love this and this, I love wasa wasa. And then you will ask me, whoa, what is wasa wasa? Where is this from? Where do you find this wasa wasa? Can we make it? So through that question, I can take you, and I will, for me, it will be such a genuine answer. Like, so I can take you through that. So slowly you can get to know me, I like to, when people discover who I am, for instance, when I'm not there. I used to say, we are not at the airport here where I just to present, have to present, or, at Standem's where you have to say, come with all your, no, outside outside of everything, everything amped and bureaucracy, we are just in connection. Let's connect, let's meet and connect and really be curious about each other. Yeah. And I believe when we are curious about each other, when we are creative in our not when we are creative, I'm laughing because Robert's answer, yeah.
Yeah.
So Robert wrote, thanks, not Bayern, but the rest is okay.
Okay, I get it, why not? I can imagine a bit. So I guess I'm always inviting people to be curious and to be creative and to really connect in the meeting, where how the way we meet people, there are so many questions we can ask people. So the way I navigate that is to make people, when I have time, of course, I don't always have time, as Tayo said, is to make people find that creativity in meeting me, and I make them be curious about meeting me, because I think that it is important to meet each other beyond the words, beyond the word MEET, to really connect when we are meeting. So that's what I do when I have time. So that's how I navigate. So that's why I say I don't navigate so much, because it's a lot of work to make people truly connect with me or with thing around them, right? Because we are in this way of thinking quickly. I just want to know where you are born, where your parents are from, where your accent is from, So yeah, voila, that's how I navigate. And yeah.
Thank you, Toby. I love
Welcome.
your confidence here, and yours also, Tayo. It's inspiring, and I hope that many people will listen to that and also be inspired. If you are inspired and you're listening right now, please use the comment and give us some feedback, because we cannot see you nodding behind your screen or agreeing or disagreeing, which is totally fine. So just let us know. And Tayo, one question for you. Sorry, Tobi. And then Tayo, we're going to talk about the importance to teach children about these topics. And Toby, the question that I would have for you, and maybe we can talk a little bit about your work. How do these advantages of your identity manifest in your work?
That's for me.
That's for you, Toby. Yes.
Okay. How do the advantage of your identity manifest themselves in your work?
Such a long question. I know. Let
Yeah,
that just marinate for a second and take your time to answer.
because I was also reading Roberts, who says,
Okay, Robert, you're taking a lot of space here in this room, but I'm going to read this. So,
I
that
love it.
is the core of the fluid identity, Robert says. I like that a lot. That is like Staatsbürgerschaft 2.0.
Genau. Yeah, that's it. So, how do advantage of your identity manifest themselves in your work? Okay, I think, yeah, thank you for this question, Ellen. I think it takes so much work to be able to hold other people, right? To be able to help other people find themselves. And I believe that I can answer these questions in my work so confidently even today because simply I've worked on that, and not really like work on finding, but I was quickly confronted. It might sound really strange, but it's not because I'm dark skinned black woman from Africa that is obvious that my identity is fixed and it was never questioned. Actually, it was so much questioned. And I think that the way it's helping me today is because really quickly I was really, as I said, given that permission. I was accompanied by my mom, who is such a strong figure in my whole own life and who is my rock, basically, right? So when I'm shaking, when I'm afraid of who I am, I just have to remember who she is and I'm good, right? So I think that in my work, it's also being that to people, right? Becoming that to people and coming to this place in my life where it's so clear for me and I can navigate all my identities and really be well with that, right? And I'm really okay, right? I'm really completely happy. And another part of my identity is also that, for instance, I don't say this a lot, but it took me 8 years, more than 8 years, no, 8 years, no, almost like 10 years or 15 years to to be okay with taking German passport. And this is fully part of my identity because Germany asked me to release my passport, to let completely, to write a letter, write a letter. That letter is there. I'm going to frame it soon and put it in my face, That letter I wrote with my own hand and sent it to my embassy to say, I'm writing this because I'm accepting German passports and I'm sending this to say no to my Beninese passport. All
Mm.
right. So it took me more than 10 years to accept that I'm going to write this letter. Yeah. So I wrote it. I took German passport. I'm really, really happy to say I don't speak German. Ich kann nicht gut German, aber ich habe der German Pass. This is my, I'm so proud of that, right? Yeah, aber das is what the system made me do. It made me not be authentic in learning German, just learning to pass all the tests, right? It made me not put my heart into embracing German. culture anymore because it forced me to go through those steps that were so painful. So obviously, if you go through painful process, you don't enjoy anything, and you don't want to enjoy. You go through the pain, and you are just when it's over, you'll be like,
Mm.
it for this, I got it, and now I know what I will do with, right? So that's it. So it also made me, this whole process made me really comfortable to be okay with that, and to also help other people in this, how I navigate letting my own passport. Do I let it? No. I say my blood is Beninese forever. My bones are Beninese. My hair, my eyes, everything, right? If today, good. Come here, see like, Toby is my daughter. Toby is my daughter. I got it with an African woman when I was in Africa. No one is going to believe good. Absolutely no one. I will never be German for German people. So why am I even bothering to really fully be in this? Oh, I want to be German because I have German passport. I'm not, no. There are some German like Toby. They went through the process because it was a painful process, and they got it, and they were like, okay. The day I took it from the embassy, I was like, whew, I need a salad, you know.
A tofu salad?
I took a salad. Okay. So that's how, that's also, we know, like going through all these things. And I think humor is really important in my culture. I'm laughing, but because before I get to this laugh, it was lot of like crying, and be like, no way, this is not going to happen to me. But it made me who I am today, and it made me be able to support others. So that's the honest answer. So that's why I think identity is important in my work, and I can easily support other people because I went through all these steps and many things in my identity. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing, Toby.
Welcome.
And I think it's important to hear these kind of stories, that not everything is easy, not everything is a quick fix or a quick win, but there is hope that we can make it. And maybe even more important, there is help out there if we are grieving, if we're going through trauma, if we maybe forgot about our trauma, but it's still there and we need to work on that. There are professionals out there that you can reach out to. And yeah, maybe you will find help there. And Kubi, you said something really important. You said that you just have to think about your mother, and she's your rock, and she gives you energy and confidence and taught you so much when you were even a small kid. And I think if that is missing, and I just have to say, in case my parents are ever listening to that, I love you dearly, but I never had this kind of role model that I could look up to because both of my parents are white, and they never even discussed the topic of, let's say, racism, discrimination. So oftentimes I felt that things were personally meant towards me and not systemically. I just learned that much, much further in my life. And I think it is so important to have representation and to be able to see yourself out there, whether in the media or in real life. I mean, even better. But that is not happening enough. And Tayo, you know already. I'm going to talk to you now and have the question how important it is for you to teach children that they are enough. Would you like to talk about that?
Yes, definitely. Thanks for that question. Yeah, because that like kind of became like my baby, so to say, the last few years. actually. Yeah, I was doing like before that. I was doing like a lot of work in the like political field, working like outside of schools, but still doing like educational work for younger people, mainly also for adults. And yeah, I can also so much relate to you, Toby, what you just said with your mother, because um, I think also this was also part of the reason that I have like the knowledge that I have today, which is probably not the average knowledge when it comes to those topics that I'm working with, right? And that was also because my mother was also part of the Romani civil rights movement, or still is, here in Germany. And yeah, and I always often say that like in panels like this, because I want to make it like really transparent where like how all this came about, and this is just not like something that I woke up and said, oh wow, I did a super seminar somewhere on an island that I can't afford and now I know all this stuff. No, was really like work, right? This is like family work. This is like historic like lessons, and also like, you know, growing and all that came together. And also my parents as like, you know, being like a black parent, and also a parent, as a Romani parent, having like a lot of things historically, systematically in common, but then at the same time also like differences, and also being like really aware of that. And on top of that, being part of a movement, being part of, you know, creating stuff, being part of teaching, being part of like all that. And yeah, that's actually also how I can say like thank you for like having the opportunity growing up like this. I know this is not like the typical Afro-German biography or something, right? And I don't want to say like this is a better biography or the other one is not as good. They're all great the way they are. They're just different, and mine just happened to be like that. That's it. So I need to say that up front, because I think it's really crucial and like important to see like how did I end up working all these different fields that I'm working right now, and that's actually the answer. So yeah, and after doing like all that work for like many years or decades, actually, I just like made this experience over and over again. What I already mentioned earlier, that when it comes to Romani people, uh, nobody really knows a lot, right? It's not being taught. You don't hear anything in school, and also in my like environment, when it comes to like friends or colleagues, as a musician, I work with like mainly black people that I'm working with, musicians from the States, from African countries, all that. Of course, also German people that are not black, some are, some white. So my background was really always really like international, if you want to say it like that. That's even how I grew up, because my father's also a musician, besides being an engineer. But anyway, so um with all this background on all these people in the environment, additionally to that, I also experienced that it doesn't really matter where you're from. It's not a German problem. It's actually a global problem, that there's like less knowledge, so little knowledge when it comes to certain people, certain groups of people, right? So this is what I experienced the whole time, and then I just realized like there's no representation, and especially when I work with younger people, I oftentimes like held seminars together with colleagues, and we sat there, and they were like 30, sometimes 35, young people, maybe around between 16 and 20 or something like that. And we asked, what did you learn in school when it comes to Romani people? Did they teach you anything about Romancy? What do you know? What is your knowledge? Do you know anything? And then you had 30 people sitting there, and nobody raised a hand. Sometimes there was like one person raising the hand, and it was like, wow, this is really bad. And it kept on repeating like this scene, and also in other yeah, in other areas of the work, the same experience over and over again. So, and I keep telling people it's not your fault, right? Because it's, oh, they always have the feeling like, oh, it's my fault, like I didn't do something, it has to do something with the Second World War, and it's all my fault. It's it's not your fault. It's the fault of the system. The system didn't teach you anything, and also didn't teach me when it comes to that subject. So knowing all that, experiencing all that, I just realized like there's no representation for children. I also have two children, and there's no representation. We started to watch like movies and stuff like that, and my daughter was asking me, can you please switch to Romanes? That's the Romani language, because there are like so many languages you can choose, right? But that language is of course not there. And then I said, oh, I'm sorry, it's not there. And she's like, why is it not there? I mean, this makes no sense to her, right? Because every second person she knows is able to speak the language, so why is it not there? And I had to start explain, right? Or try to explain. So, and all that happens, I just realized, okay, we need more representation. And then I started to look into books, and children's books in particular. And I just realized like there's no positive representation when it comes to Romani children in children literature. There's none. There is, of course, I mean, you cannot really say representation, but there is like the subject is there in certain books, but the narrative is just terrible and racist most of the times, even with violent language. And even if it's not violent language, then it's like just the way is this described and all that. So I was really looking like, okay, what can I use to give to my children, and have a good feeling about it and say, oh wow, look what I found, this is a great book. No, there was nothing. So I thought, okay, if there's no book, then I just have to make it, right? So I started writing this book, and yeah, just wanted it to be there first of all. So this was actually the idea, just to have this one book, right? And it was not so since my children are also multilingual, and they also speak English, so it was no problem when it came to Black representation. We just took all the English books, like, but there were also none to, like, very very few books by German authors back then. My daughter's now already 12, so it's a little bit has changed the last years. But anyway, so I wanted to create this book and just did it, and I was out there, and then the feedback was really great. I didn't expect it. I just wanted the book to be there. That was all. Oh yeah, there it is. Exactly. It's Jokesi Club, Jek Dui Drin. That's 1, 2, 3 in Romanes. Drei Freundinnen in Berlin. I mean, that's probably obvious. 3 friends in Berlin, right? And yeah, so the first edition was really received very well, and it was quickly gone. So I had to come up with a second one and a second edition because it was sold out. And then I thought, okay, then let me just like do it all by myself. And then I started Omo Books, so that I have my own like publishing house, so to say. And yeah, so this was last year then with finding Omo Books, and then the second edition came out, and yeah, I'm gonna happily hopefully this spring release the part 2. That would be the second story, so it's supposed to be a series. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Thank
congratulations.
you.
Yeah, what a beautiful journey. And yeah, thank you for your work.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
really great. I mean, I didn't really plan it, to be honest, because I already had enough to do. I also work as a singer, I do the political work and all that. So I didn't really plan, like, it was not like my dream, I'm gonna always be a publisher or something. No. I just wanted the book to be there. But then the feedback was so positive that I thought, okay, I have to keep on going. And what I definitely didn't really want it to do was like give it to like somebody else's hand and then start all this conversation about like how it's going to be and who's going to look like that and why is the one girl dark skinned and why are they looking like this and all. And I just was like, oh, and I can't do it. I don't have the patience for it. So that's why I had to do it, like, as an own in my own business, so to say. Yeah.
Like I
Okay.
said, we're gonna hear inspiring things here. And I also feel that
Oh, I just have to add one thing.
yeah, sure.
Sorry. my sibling is doing the illustrations. That's really important to say. Yes. So
Okay,
it's also
beautiful.
a family thing.
So it's a family thing. That's beautiful. Family who works together or
Mhm.
works together stays together. That's what I heard. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's going to show one other page.
beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah, it is so rare to see representation in children's book, and just a little advertising block.
yeah.
There are other books from Regina Feldman, Kami
Yeah.
and Mika, which we really love, or from Mariella Georg, Es ist Platz für dich da. And also, I have to mention Andrea Karime and Nuri und der Geschichtenteppich, where there's also a girl of color in the main role, and it's not the trauma that is in the forefront, like oftentimes when we think about stories with persons of color, but empowering and hearing the story of a creative, smart girl who is coming up with stories to defend herself or to distract. It is just a beautiful story, just like yours, Tayo, very empowering. And this is an English speaking title, but a book actually from Germany, Cologne, Hair Like This. And it's just beautiful to see that now and that I can share that with my kids because I didn't have that. And
Mm.
that was also a reason why I published a book last year, which is called Was uns empowert. It's a German speaking book, and it is What Empowers Us, where I collected the voices of Flinter of color to write down their experiences around, yeah, their identity of being a person of color, a person who is experiencing racism. And last year, when I was pregnant, no, the year before even, I was pregnant with my twins. I was so triggered by the representation of a twin like book for parents where all the representation was white. The narrative was heteronormative, and I have a wife, so I wasn't really seeing myself in this book. Then I also decided, okay, then I published one book, I'm going to do another one. So hopefully this year I will publish the next book. It's going to be an intersectional book about what family is, not only parents, but also caretakers, co parenting, a lot of trans folks, non binary folks, people with disabilities, dark skinned siblings, like all these people that you normally don't hear when you think about families. And we need to, yeah, reframe our narratives. We need to share our stories and make that normal and not being othered all the time. So, I don't want to encourage everyone out there if there's something missing, create it because not all of us have maybe the privileges or the resources to do so. But you've seen three people here on this panel who are creating their own things, their own business, their own publishing house. So reach out to us and maybe we can not help you, but direct you to other people who might be able to help you, and so you don't have to do it by yourself. But don't be okay if something is not represented or if something is missing. Be loud, talk to other people, and hopefully you will reach the people who can support you on your journey, so that you will be able to create something. And it doesn't have to be big, it might just be a little book for yourself and your children, and you can see what this might turn out to be. Okay. So, one last question, and we're going to close this conversation very soon. Would be what would you wish to see more in the world? Maybe some encouragement, just like I did, or an advice for the people who are listening who might be feeling similar to us or who might not feel the same way because they do not have the experience that we have. No matter who you want to address this to, what would you like to leave here in the room?
I Should I start or you go?
Yes, yes, you can go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it would be more people who maybe embrace all the paths that they are, you know, and who space where we learn to embrace everything we are, at least. I The way I address trauma in my work, I say trauma fragments us. Yeah. And there is no one, absolutely no one, that is in this world, maybe you are not as aware of that, who haven't experienced trauma. We are here to experience trauma, actually. So, trauma is something that is really present in our society. It will fragment your identity, it will fragment your story, everything. And we either we are able to look at those fragmentations and be like, you know what, like the Japanese pot, I want to put my fragmentations together, and just put the glue and have a pot, fragmented pot, that is all glued with the gold, gold glue, and is another pot, and is beautiful. And I think that's something. It takes time to work on that, right? So I see a bit trauma like that, and working on trauma like that, and being able to collect all our parts and making something beautiful from that. And one of our biggest part is our identity. Without that, it's hard to be able to create. So, if you want to be able to fully be in our creative body, we must first really put our identity together, all our parts, and really embrace them so we can be able to create. And creativity help us transcend whatever is there. I really believe in that. So I would like to see a world full of people who are fully happy to embrace us, a society that's allow us to embrace all those parts, and then we can create something with, because I believe creativity help us transcend completely. And all these things that is there. So that's what I wish for the world. Thank you so much, Ellen, anyway.
Thank
Oh,
you, Toby. And that reminds me of the saying by Jose Rizal. He's a Filipino, and he said, "No self, no history, and no, it's the other way around. No history, no
no
self,
self.
and no history, no self." And
Mm,
the first one is just the NO,
mhm.
and then the second it is the knowing something like
Mm,
ANOW. And I
W.
think that is a very short
Yeah.
quote, but it goes so deep.
Mm,
And I think it relates to the picture of the vase and
yeah.
that you can see the glue, the
Yeah.
golden glue. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much, Toby.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Tayo.
So the question was, what would I like to see more in the world, right? Yeah, I think we're all really busy with ourselves, right? Like I learned this one time from a dear friend of mine, and she's a social worker, and I was like, she said, people are not that much thinking about you as you might be thinking about yourself. So I was like, okay, that's actually kind of a relief on one side. On the other side, I think we're really busy with, just ourselves and thinking about ourselves. And what I would really wish to see more is like thinking a little bit more about the person, you're talking to, or sitting across from you, or the person that you're meeting. Um, yeah, I think this was really something, just to think, try to put yourself in the shoes of the person you're facing, maybe for 1 minute or something, before you start, to say anything, or do anything or something. So yeah, I think we should all take, and I'm including myself in there, we should all take more time to think about, like, the other person right next to you, and try to, think like, okay, what might be the background, or, and I'm not talking about heritage, like what's going on, like maybe this person needs something, or you don't know the story, it could be anything, right? So, and I think it would be really, I think it would be so lovely if we would be like more invested in like making like the person across you feel good, besides of course making yourself feel good, but also care for others.
So many quotes that you can put on a postcard here tonight. Thank you so much. And I just had this one thought. Yeah, I think Tayo, when I heard you talking, I was thinking about empathy and compassion, and also in conflicts, because I used to be very judgmental when it's about microaggressions, for instance, and people are giving me a compliment like, "Oh, you're so articulate," or the way that you can speak. And Black people might be
Mm,
called or complimented with this, "You're so articulate," in a racist way, because
mm,
they are surprised that a Black person can be so articulate. But if we take the time and pause for a minute and say, before we gonna get mad, well, what do you exactly mean? And the person says, well, I have really stage fright. I am so scared to talk in front of people, and you just do it. I love how you do that and how confident you are. And I realized, oh, it got nothing to do with racism. It was a true compliment.
Yeah.
But of course, the
mhm,
way that we live and the experiences we have, we tend to assume so much. And what I really hear from what you said, Tayo, is that we just sit and maybe don't talk and
Yeah.
listen, and not to listen to answer, but listen to understand. So, everyone out there, I hope you could listen, understand tonight. And if you liked it, forward this recording to your friends, to your colleague, and share our stories. We would be grateful to be represented out there, because we're not enough
mhm.
represented out there. And Tayo, I would love to thank you for being here tonight, for taking the time. You too, Toby. I mean, it's you who came up with the topic for tonight, and we made it work tonight. And I'm so glad that we did. I appreciate the time that you invested for being here tonight. I know that we are all parents, we are very busy, we have a lot of things going on. So I really appreciate you. I also appreciate you out there for being here, for commenting, and spending the time to tune in. I also like to thank Ilias in the background, who is supporting us tonight with the technical background. And I also like to thank my team for making this evening possible. So that's it for the conversation room tonight. And I hope that we will see each other again very soon for the next conversations that are coming up. Thank you so much, and take care.
Thank you.